Welcome ready to another edition of TEW 2020 as we're on the road to Slamboree 2006. But before we get into that, a quick little note here. As you may know, if you're following this in real time, if you're following this on the playlist, you may not care. But basically, TW9 is out, and I want to continue this series because, this is my longest term series, and I just find it, very, honestly, refreshing, what I would say, that I've just continued this through two games, and I'm on to a third game with a series. But I want to know when people want to actually move it over to TW9. So I've given 3 options here in the poll that'll be up, when this is up, and here are the 3 options. Mid-year 2006, so basically at the end of June, I'll do what I'll probably do is I'll do a big mid-year end of TW 2020, and then the second mid-year recap as I insert, all the data into the game. Option 2 is after SummerSlam 2006 in game, because that'll give me an option to book WWE one more time before, we move over to TW9, and all those are move things forward as far as that goes. If they actually get a little bit better AI booking, I might have to take over the WWE, but we'll have to see how they actually do. And then the last thing is the end of 2006 in game, it'll be end of the year, moving on and everything. So go ahead, make your choice. Obviously, I'm only at the, nearing the end of May. I just didn't want to do it at the end of May because, there's another month till the end of June. And if I can do it, one more week, I can do 5 more weeks. So that's that. So again, go ahead, just, go ahead and, choose what you want, and I'll see what people want. But let's move on to the actual go-home shows for Slamboree. And we are live, and we're at 15,000 people at the John Paul Jones Arena as for go-home shows for Slamboree 2006. And as noted, basically set up last week, it's going to be a hardcore war tonight, with Brother Ray taking on Raven in our main event here at Nitro. But let's go to the ring. In our opening match, it's a bit of a setup as the 2 matches, which I think are pre-booked. Let's see here. I guess not officially, so I'll add those in right now just as a double check. So Ray Leppan will make his first defense of the US title against Lance Storm, which I could have swore I already added, but I guess not. Interesting. And then also Maverick Chance versus Cassidy O'Reilly for the Cruiserweight title. So, good wrestling, decent reaction from the crowd. Leppan and Cassidy get the win over Chance and Lance Storm in under 8 minutes when Leppan pins Chance. He says he's using for an object, but basically, this is just some cheating to win. Hits his, it maneuvers around, does some cheating, overpowers the Cruiserweight champion, and gets a big pinfall victory here on Nitro. As it gets a 75, Cassidy gets a 68, Leppan gets a friggin' 90. Okay. Lance Storm gets a 79, and Maverick Chance gets a 66. Wow. How? He should not be getting 90s. Okay. Okay, bro. Seriously, wow. Post-match, the heels celebrate with Cassidy, Leppan, and of course Misty celebrating as the announcers put over the 2 big matches for the US and Cruiserweight titles at Slamboree 06. And we move forward, where we have backstage, Jeremy Borash with Stacy Keibler, of course, and then also Ninkeo, and then the new member, Kenzo, well, he'll be renamed in a second, but Kenzo Suzuki, you can see it here. Borash basically asked Stacy, about, the addition of Kenzo Suzuki and Ninkeo, and she basically says, thank you. You see, we've always been about honor, strength, and unity. With Kenzo Suzuki, we see someone with embodies all these qualities, and the leaders of Ninkeo have decided to add him to that, because he can add the brute strength that this group needs as we move to retake our tag team titles that should be back around Kaz and Yang's waist as soon as possible. Because together, we are unstoppable with the skill of Kaz, the high flying abilities of Yang, and the power of Kenzuki, and me backing them up. He asks them about the big triple threat match tonight against, Shelton Benjamin and Matt Sydal, and, Stacy says, look, Shelton Benjamin and Matt Sydal are both talented competitors. Matt Sydal is a Cruiserweight champion, and Shelton Benjamin is current tag team champion. But Yang is the best high flyer in the business today, and tonight he will show why we are days away from winning Aerial Assault and becoming tag team champions once again, bringing honor back to those championships and bringing our honor back to Ninkeo. So, 70, decent stuff, and then, oh, right, yeah. Ooh, okay, well, that's unfortunate. Tried a new gimmick, didn't work, oh well. Then we go to ringside. Okay, that's kind of funny that Eddy... Okay, so Eddy and Suzuki have basically not quite a squash match, but a very short match. Suzuki gets his spots in. It's Suzuki, it's Guerrero and Suzuki seem they didn't click. They still have a decent match, get to 70, a little under 8 minutes. Guerrero, gets the win with the frog splash. He hits the Blue Thunder Bomb, Brainbuster, frog splash. Suzuki's unfortunately a jobber to the stars since he can't show up for pay-per-views because he works for Impro, but I'm still have him under contract, so why not use him? At least still he's totally worthless as far as overness. A big win for Guerrero, and he basically, has the win. He takes the mic and he says, I came out here to make a statement. And I did that WCW Great Suzuki just like that. Him and I had classes back in Japan. But this is WCW, and this is now. Because something's eating me, something I want to get off my chest before Slamboree. And he gets a mixed pop, and he says, look, I know some of you support me and some of you don't, but you all respect me because what I do in this ring. And why don't you? I'm a former WCW World Champion, a former Starrcade main eventer, and I came back here to WCW to do one thing, become WCW World Champion, and I did just that, Holmes. But let's check out the elephant in the room. Let's talk about that interfering son of a... And Eddy stops himself and he says, Van Dam, you stuck your nose where you didn't belong. And look, I get it. I've done my share of underhand stuff before. I'm a Guerrero after all. But the difference is this. You got involved in my business. So you might have your little advocate Heyman hyping you up, but deep down you know the truth. You know that in the ring, there's only one man destined to be on top, and that's me. Because you're great, Van Dam, but I'm just that much better. So you can call yourself Mr. Wednesday Night, Mr. Pay-Per-View, but at Slamboree, you'll be calling me one thing, and that's WCW World Champion. Because I'm going to walk out of there with my title and reclaim my throne, and FQ's Q AJ Styles. AJ, comes down to the ring, says, Eddy. Every single week, it seems like I have to hear you whine and cry. And honestly, it's a little sad. Look, man, I said this before and I'll say it again. I grew up watching you. Part of why I wanted to be a wrestler was seeing you on Nitro having great matches. And here you are, beating a legend like Suzuki, and now you're still getting on the mic and crying about spilled milk. Look, I'm pissed about what happened to Van Dam too, but that's because I was about to show why I'm the WCW World Champion and the best wrestler in the world. I'm the face that runs this place. I beat Van Dam before, I'll do it again, and I'll beat you right in the middle of that damn ring. And honestly, if it wasn't for him getting involved, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Because see, Eddy, you talk a big game, you say you're destined to be on the top, but there's one problem with that. I'm already on the top. You're looking at the man who's beaten the best this business has had to offer, and you're looking at the man who's still going to walk out as the WCW World Champion. And he sort of smirks as he takes the mic back and says, Styles, I respect what you've done. I say, you're a hell of a talent. But you need to understand something, Holmes. That title you're holding, that's my title. I held that title with pride. And I came back to this company to do that one thing. And Slamboree, I'm going to take it back. You think you're unbeatable, you think you're untouchable. Let me remind you, I've beaten men tougher, stronger, bigger, and smarter than you, AJ. And AJ's like, was that right? Well, let me remind you something. I've beaten legends, I've beaten stars. Storm, Ray Leppan Jr., Booker T. Anybody that's put in front of me, I've overcome it. I walked out of Starrcade as the world champion for a reason, because of the dawn of a new era. I'm ready for the challenge of the three-way dance at Slamboree, but it'll be a challenge, but not an unbeatable challenge. Because I'm phenomenal. And, Eddy fires back, and, AJ, you think you're ready, think you're prepared for what's coming, but you have no idea what I'm willing to do to get that title back. You have no idea what things I'm willing to do. I'm going to fight harder than I ever had before, and Guerrero fighting values means anything. Do anything at all to be at top. Because that title, I say, is coming home to me. So AJ, at Slamboree, bring everything you've got. I'm bringing the fight of my life. And when it's all done, you're going to look at the lights, realizing there's a reason why everybody wanted me back in this company. And why I was your idol. Because I'm the best wrestler in the world. And I still am today. Eddy, Yes, you're my idol, but now we're competitors. And I am phenomenal. And we'll see who walks out as WC World Champion. Remember this, Eddy. You're just facing me. You're facing the best in the world. And Slamboree, I'm going to prove why I'm still going to be the face that runs this place. 90 good promo, hyping things up for the pay-per-view as we move forward here on Nitro. And then we have a fun little interesting backstage promo as we have Goldberg in the back as Lashley and Flair comes in, and Flair's like, "Woo, let me tell you something. Last week, the Nature Boy and Blaster Lashley were showing up in Japan. That Snake Wright thought he could with attacking Cesaro. And look, Claudio's back in Europe, recovering. But guess what? Right, we're back, and tonight, it's payback time. Woo! Because last night, brother, you crossed the line. You went on Claudio's knee trying to take him out. Well, tonight, we're going to make sure Wright understands that you don't mess with Evolution, and you get away with it. Man, we're here to back up Goldberg, and we're here to take care of business." Goldberg steps up and says, "Right, see, I thought you were going to do something like that, but I still have the match over in Japan. You think Cesaro's knee proves anything? You think makes you the big man around here? Let me tell you something, right? Slamboree, you're going to be reminded what it means to step into the ring with Goldberg. I faced legends, icons, and so-called invincible men. You're no different, right? You're just a man. And at Slamboree, you're going to feel the feel force of the man. And tonight, that just is going to be a little preview. Because you're next." And Claire steps and says, "That's right. Think to take out our man Claudio walk away without consequences. Think it in, get the Nature Boy, Blaster Lashley, and the man gunning for you now. Tonight doesn't matter who you find as a partner, because we're going to understand the meaning of respect. There's no substitute for the raw power determination of Lashley and the skill of Goldberg. It's just a taste of what's going to come your way at Slamboree." And Goldberg steps and says, "Right, you're next, and there's nothing you can do to stop it." So fun little promo, gets a 76. Actually, we rated everybody, so it is what it is. But yeah, fun stuff building up. There's a tag match later tonight, and we don't know Wright's partner. Then we have our triple threat match that was talked about earlier, as we have Shelton Benjamin defeating Yang and Sydal in a triple threat match. I mean, it is, you imagine what this is. Flying around, Yang flying around, Sydal hitting some big moves of his own. Benjamin suplexes it eventually. Benjamin is able to drop Sydal with a pay dirt and get the pinfall win here. 6 days before Aerial Assault, as this gets a 77, Yang gets a 71, Benjamin gets a 78, Sydal gets a 74. And post-match, the tag champs celebrate, as, Yang, Kaz, and Keeper are there, and along with Sydal and Rey Mysterio Jr. I should have said Ray and Booker are both at ringside, alongside Stacy Keibler and everybody else. This gets 71 as the youngsters put over the big 4-way Aerial Assault match happening at Slamboree. Then we go backstage, where Captivation are backstage, and they say, basically say, Celine, you talk about coming up from behind, about being the underdog. But you don't realize that just means you're worse than us. You see, you keep on failing because you're a failure, and we are captivating. So tonight, it doesn't matter who you face, or it doesn't matter who you face out of the two of us, you will fall because we're just that damn good. Because we're captivating, and we're the best this women's division has to offer. Decent little promo, gets a 65, continues to build up the feud. And then we have a interesting little backstage segment, as, Ken Anderson is backstage, as, he says, he's with Better Ray, he says, "This is what we've been waiting for. Tonight, you're in hardcore with Raven. And look, man, I know you can be an a-hole in that ring and kick Raven's ass from one side of the John Paul Jones Arena and the other. But tonight, it's just not about winning. It's about taking a statement. Showing them and showing everybody else that we're not to be messed with. We both put throughout these last weeks, the attacks, the mind games, everything, just because Raven is a little bitch. And that's the truth. You're whiny little baby. And I'm an a-hole, and this man is a tough SOB, and he's going to wreck you tonight in that hardcore war. Because we're going to fight back, and you hit hard. But brother, we hit hard back better than anybody else in this business." And then Brother Ray steps and says, "You know something? You're right. Tonight isn't just a match. It's not reminding anybody who the hell I am. I'm just not a wrestler who gets in the ring and goes through the motions. I'm a street fighter, and I fought in the toughest environments, in the land of extreme, the Raven knows very well. And look, you've had some mind games, and you said something Raven, but I've heard it all before. I've been through wars, I fought in alleyways, I've bled in bathrooms, I've taken on some of the toughest guys in the business. And tonight, I'm going to go to the ring, I'm going to show you in your nest what it means to be a real fighter. I don't get that win, however I can, and show you that I'm still the same man I was back in Philly so many years ago. So you want to play your games. It's not about the games tonight. It's about survival. I'm still showing you no matter what. I'm still standing. I'm still fighting. I'm still ready to kick your ass all over the arena. Anderson continues. That's right. Tonight, send your lackeys, send whatever. I'll be there to make sure they don't ruin things. Because tonight's about one thing. Right into the nest. That this is our show, our ring, and nobody can cause chaos without it. Because we're just two big a-holes ready to kick some ass. Good stuff. This gets an 85. Fun stuff. And then we have our interesting match set up last week, as we have Penny Grable take on ODB, and in a bit, back and forth match, ODB does her brawling. Grable eventually gets her, gets back on offense with some her 50 styles with some actual normal offense. Eventually Grable looks like she's taking advantage. ODB's firing back, but she actually hits her. Oh god, I forgot the finisher name I gave her. Well, she goes for the chaos theory type of win, but ODB actually blocks it, hits some elbows. She starts fighting, but Grable actually goes low, taking out her knees. And then as it looks like Grable's going for her finisher, out of nowhere, Trisha Sky runs in and goes after Penny Grable to a big pop. As this gets a 66, ODB gets a 57, Penny Grable gets a 58. And post-match, Trisha Sky continues to go on the offense, and it looks like she's going to hit the sky's the limit. Penny rolls, gets out of the ring and escapes as there's a stare down, as Trisha says she had measured revenge, but this war is far from over. As it gets a 70. Fun stuff, continuing the feud. And then we have a backstage segment, as AMW are backstage, drinking some beer, doing AMW things, when they're confronted by the Southern Syndicate, and, AMW ready for a fight, and Nobody's like, no, look, we're just here to ask you, why are you such failures? Why are you ready to step back and allow a new era of Southern wrestling to begin? Not you fools, you drunks, you brawling brutes, but allow two men with true talent, including a second-generation star, to step up and actually take the reins. And he said, first, look, if you want a match, we can have a match. But if you want to fight, you keep on damn talking. And Gory steps forward and says, look, you think you're special? Because you win some matches, you win some titles? My father wrestled all over the world, and he taught me everything, and our nobles taught me even more, so we can take you apart in that ring, just like that. And, AMW is ready for a fight. He says, Storm says, if you want to get that ring, go talk to Bischoff and set up a match for Slamboree. And we'll show you why we have multiple tag team greater reigns, and we've been the best tag team in this business for years and years. And you think just because your daddy is, because Noble's gotten some wins in the past, you're something special? Well, sorry about your damn luck. So, it's officially, set up later. And is this basically kind of a throwaway match? Not exactly, but it's setting up something. As America Was Wanted versus this Southern Syndicate. I know they've had matches before. No, okay, this is actually kind of interesting. I thought they had matches. 69. Unfortunately, Noble's gimmick is getting stale, which I'll have to remember. But yeah, not bad. Only a 4-minute promo. And then before the tag match, Alex Wright brings out his partner, Taz Tomko. The actress gets Tomko Production Agency. Got a bit of a payoff tonight. Gets a 73. It's just a quick 1-minute angle. And the actual match itself gets us an 82. Not much selling shown. I mean, it's Goldberg and Lashley versus Tomko and Wright. The only person selling was Wright, and he was probably right to be the only person selling. I mean, this is what you really expect. Tomko and fighting, Goldberg and Tomko having a little bit of spots. I bet Wright is actually not in the ring with Goldberg for more than maybe a couple minutes, where he basically I imagine Tomko, attacking Goldberg from behind, basically hitting him from behind. Wright finally attacking in, getting some offense, but the moment Goldberg looks like he's getting some steam, attacking back out, eventually things break down, and it's a big old double count out brawl as Tomko and Lashley are brawling on the outside. Wright and Goldberg are also brawling as this gets an 82. Lashley gets a 45. Goldberg gets an 84. Tomko gets a 66. Wright gets an 87. Lashley was off his game, unfortunately. And the fight continues with including Flair actually coming over and getting some chops in on Wright, and there's a little bit of a brawl there. But eventually Goldberg looks like he's about to hit a spear on Wright in the middle of the ring, but Wright rolls out and gets up to the top of the ramp, and the announcers put over the big match at Slamboree of Goldberg versus Wright, with Goldberg finally ready to get his revenge as it gets a 79. And then we have a kind of goofy backstage promo, as basically we have your friends and mine, the WCW Women's Tag Team Champions, the social scene, about to head out for a night on the town, as they're all dressed up and talked about going out, and they're taking tag title victory, and they're looking forward to Slamboree defending the titles and proving they're the top tag team in the company. When Tank Tolan, WCW's supposed sexiest man, comes up and interrupts them and says, isn't this the night of the party? Mind if I join you to WCW tonight? I promise me around, it'll be a night to remember. And then, as they're sort of exchanging amused glances, trying to stifle their laughter, but again, simply Johnny Devine then steps up and says, hey, hold on a second, Tank. You can take her out some overpriced club. Well, let me take her out and show her a real fine, nice night. I bet we can find her a nice country bar and show her what it's like to be party with simply Johnny Devine. So come on, girl, let's paint the town red. And then we come in with Jimmy Rave. He says, look, these two douchebags can do whatever they want. But look, I know a little underground club that's doing some dance music. Nobody know who you are, and you just have a good night on yourselves. Nothing that exciting. But hey, if not, well, too bad. And Tolan started and Divine pressure myself. Look, kid, we're real men. Talk to real women. Go over and go over to a juice club and hit on whatever jokes about being young. And finally, and finally, Nikki and Annie fight totally say, all right, we made a decision and we decided, Jimmy, let's get out of here. The two heels are stunned as Rave looks surprised himself. Just a little goofy comment saying, to get these people on the show and sort of create some undercard stories. And we have a Revolution recap focusing, of course, on Angle, getting a bit of revenge as this gets a 72. And then we have our main event match. And all right, let's see here. Got 76, 75 for Raven, 84 for Brother Ray. Was it anything else? Okay. I guess we had a sports entertainment finish. That's unfortunate. Let's see here. Declining visibility for Raven. I mean, yeah, it's 2006 Raven. What do you expect? But as you imagine, eventually things are just complete and utter chaos. Rave, Prophet, Red Rum, and Anderson are all involved. There's no pinfall happening. Everybody's just brawling around the ring. And eventually, the ref just calls for the bell and nothing's happening. But as the fight continues, obviously it's 3-on-2. And, what actually, happens is, what's the word I'm looking for here? Is, we got a big old brawl. Brother Ray is brawling with Red Rum. Anderson's brawling with Raven, with Prophet. Raven eventually gets involved, going after Anderson with a chair. And, there's a bit of a fight, but eventually it's a 3-on-2. But then the Truth music hits, and out comes the Truth returning after getting attacked a few weeks back, running in for the save. As, basically, the heels scatter, and, the Truth takes the mic and says, Raven, you thought you could kick me out? That would be the end of it? You thought you could just waltz in here and run over everybody? Well, you thought wrong, dog. This isn't over by a long shot. You want to play games? You want to fight dirty? Fine, we'll fight dirty. We'll take you to another level. Slamboree, us three, you three. No rules, no count out, no DQ. Let's fight and just figure out who's actually the biggest, the baddest man in here. And Raven takes the mic and says, is up to top rank. Takes the mic and says, you want a war? You want something to the abyss with us? At Slamboree, we'll accept your challenge. But know this, you're stepping into the darkness. And in the darkness, there are no rules and no mercy. Quote to Raven. Nevermore. 87, and this sets up the match I'm sure everybody sort of expected. 3 versus 3. Raven, the Prophet, Red Rum versus Ken Anderson, Brother Ray, and the Truth. There you go, and we finish the show, and yeah. 82. Okay, not our best show. I guess we didn't have like that kick-ass 100 rating, and we didn't have like a great main event, unfortunately. So yeah, that makes sense. Could be worse. Well, yeah. As this loads up. Again, could have been actually a lot worse of a show there. I guess I just kind of forgot that, like, yeah. Loading. I wonder if anybody, like, who actually listened to this or who just, like, just skips through. Anyway, let's look at some mail. Okay, worthless youth, 1-0. Okay. Nitro is Nitro. Let's see here. All right, so we got a 1.77. All right, they're still in Australia. And let's see, what are they doing? Oh, I forgot to... Okay, well, we had Juvie Juice defeating Carlito in a 75. Okay. We had JBL interview, Kai Falk Campbell and TNA defeating Rick Steiner, Salmon, and Maven. Dale defeating Adam Jacobs, Molly Hall defeating Julian Hall, Vampire defeating Steven Richards, Batista defeating CM Punk, and Mike Halls and Edge defeating DDP and Big Show. So there you go. Interesting stuff at the top of the card there. I forgot to send Michael's way after he got beat down, but I might go and fix that in a bit here. But yeah, let's see here. Sure. So yeah, that's Nitro, and I'll be back in just a second with Revolution. And welcome everybody to Revolution, the Go Home Revolution, before Slamboree 2006, and the show starts out with basically Palumbo, London, Jindrak, Angle, Evans and O'Hare already fighting up and down the ramp, into the ring, all over the, all over the beginning of the show here as the entrance went over. They've been fighting since before the show started. And eventually Teddy Long comes down with various staff members, breaks them apart, and does this playa. You all have matches tonight. You all have matches at Slamboree, but tonight we're gonna have a little preview in a tag team match as Kurt Angle teams up with Paul London, take on Chuck Palumbo and Mark Jindrak. And it's going to happen right now. Because it's 93, fun stuff. Now we go to the match, which gets an 86. Angle and don't work well as a team, which honestly fair. Fun little match. It's just basically 13 minutes. Palumbo and Jindrak do their team ups, do their power stuff, especially on London. Angle eventually comes in as a hot tag, hits some suplexes around on everybody, hits a big series of Germans on Jindrak, hits the Angle slam, puts on the ankle lock, but Palumbo comes in and basically knocks him right down. Things break down. We've got Evans and O'Hare on the outside, and eventually Paul London is able to hit the London calling after Angle hits another Angle slam on Jindrak, and then starts to brawl with Palumbo on the outside. It's a big clothesline, knocks him out. The brawl starts, and London goes up top. London calling 1, 2, 3. 86 match. London gets a 79. Angle gets an 86. Jindrak gets a 79. Palumbo gets an 86. I didn't even look at that. That's wow. And of course, the match continues. Not the match, but the brawl continues, and Teddy Long takes the mic again and says, basically, playa, I can't have this kind of madness and chaos on my show. So you all are getting kicked out of the arena tonight, and if I see you get involved before Slamboree, your matches will be canceled and you'll be suspended without pay. This gets an 86. Fun stuff. Eventually, doing one last little, big sell for the big matches at the pay-per-view of Angle vs. O'Hare and the big tag match. And then we do have a main event, by the way, of it. We have a Champions versus Challengers match, as World Champion AJ Styles and Tag Champs Booker T and Shelton Benjamin will take on in a big 6-man match the team of Billy Kidman, Shane Helms, and Rob Van Dam. 71 for this little basic graphic, and we go backstage as we have as basically we have all the women's heels involved in big matches in a backstage segment. As basically, we have Nikita Galt saying, face the challenge tonight, which should be beneath us. But eventually you have to sit in the ring with Alyssa Alexander, Social Scene, and Gail Kim. Such a collection of mediocrity is laughable at best. We will show them the true power of European disunion. My women, and alongside me, Alli Danger, will give just a preview of the danger they are all in at Slamboree. And Alli Stepson says, we're just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting to prove a point. Alexander, you may hold that women's championship now, but she's nothing compared to what you represent in the social scene. Party girls and compete with real athletes, please. And hell, Gail Kim, you were never my mentor. You were a burden on me. And at Slamboree, I'm going to show everybody who's really in charge of this division. And then Mayhem comes in, news from the he says, yeah, we're going to crush them. They don't stand a chance. And then Nikki says, Molly, you are not the leader of European Union. You're not here for petty speeches. You're here to help dominate and destroy and take those tag titles off of those frivolous women of the social scene. And Alli then steps in and says, it's time for me to surpass Gail Kim. Tonight, I'm going to show you, everybody else, I don't need you or anybody else to guide me. This is my time, and you're about to enter the danger zone. And the cult steps in and says, Alyssa Alexander, I admit, you missed me once. But any woman, any competitor can get lucky once. At Slamboree, I will cream what is rightfully mine, and tonight you and your little friends will learn the hard way that European Union is an unbreakable force. And we are what this women's division is built around. So for the little promo, gives us a 79 overall. And yeah, good stuff building up a 8 women's tag later tonight. Then we have the match set up last week as Sonny Siaki takes on Chavo Guerrero in a TV title match. Back and forth match. Unfortunately, they don't click, so maybe, Chavo tries to do something a little more complicated with Siaki. Match involves in a mess, but eventually get things settled down. But back and forth, Siaki, about to hit his big shoulder breaker. Chavo gets out. Chavo's about to hit the brainbuster, but Siaki blocks it. Match eventually, the bell rings for the 10-minute time limit, which gets us a 54. Siaki gets a 50. Chavo gets a 55. And post-match, Chavo wants more time to win the title, but Siaki walks away, holding up the belt. It seems like this feud must continue. 55, not bad, but unfortunately that they don't click, Stuff happens, what can you do? And then we're backstage with AJ Styles and Booker T and Shelton Benjamin, your World Tag Team Champions, and the World Champion with Amy Weber. And, asked AJ about the, huge main event tonight and the massive 3-8 in Slamboree. And AJ's like, Amy, I'm feeling fire up. Being the face that runs this place means I've always got to charge right back. Van Dam made it clear with his actions recently, and I'm sure Eddy's got his own plans for the review as well. But tonight, it's about sending a message to them. RVD, you met at the edge with Amy whispering in your ear, and Amy, you may think you're got legacy, but I got something they don't have. I'm phenomenal, and I'm the world champion, and I plan on staying that way after Slamboree. Then Booker T steps up, and he's asked about the aerial assault match, and says, we've been here before. Shelton and I have faced the best of the best, and count on the top. We meet team after team at Starcade. People didn't think we were just a thrown together team. And tonight we're facing Kidman and Helms, two guys that have chips on their shoulders. They came with the champs. They're pounding out why I'm a six-time world champion, and so many tag titles, I've earned them all. So can you dig that, sucker? And then, Amy then asks about the, three-way dance and anything can happen. And AJ says, the three-way dance is true. It's a whole different beast. You got our eyes in the back of your head, because if no lines is a match like this, you can eliminate it at any time, and it's every man for himself. Or he has his kicks, his agility, and his mind games, and Eddy, well, he's a former world champ for a reason. But I'm not walking that match unprepared. I'm going to show everybody why I'm the world champion, because this title is not going anywhere. And, Booker and Shelton, they've got their backs tonight, and it's, about showing everybody in the assault match. They're just not speaking titles. We're making a statement that we're the champions for a reason. 89, good promo, building up the matches at the pay-per-view and the big main event later tonight. And then we have a sort of goofy backstage segment where we have various guys all in today's office, saying they deserve more TV time. We've got to say, offering some gold. Ryan Rossi with Cookie, starting to put themselves over, saying, they've been doing lots of, time in the gym and tanning out with Jerry Shore. And Jordan Swinger says these Pazans got nothing to do with it. And eventually, Teddy announces a wild card tag team match next week on Revolution to see who can make a statement and advance here on Revolution. 54, not bad. Just a little goofy segment as we move forward. as we have Judas Mesias absolutely running over Cash in under 4 minutes with a Crucifix Powerbomb. This gets a 53. 76, 72 was only 4 minutes, so that's that. Just a complete squash to put Mesias over. And then he takes the mic and says, "Tonight, I stand before you, not as the monster you once knew, but as a man reborn. I have shed the darkness that once consumed my soul, the dark spirits that men like Vampiro and Raven infect me with. I travel back to my homeland, Puerto Rico, and through the rituals of Sensei, I have cleansed my soul. But there's one final cleansing that must be done. One final sacrifice to appease the gods, and rid myself the shadows of the past completely. That sacrifice is Monty Brown. You've been a thorn in my side, Monty, a constant reminder of the darkness I once embraced. At Wrestle War, we fought till it got out, but I walked away, and you lay broken. But that was not enough. The gods demand more. They demand your blood, your pain, your very essence as a tribute. At Slamboree, we'll fight in a match like no other. A match to determine who truly deserves to walk through the earth, and who will be buried beneath it. We will face off in a Sensei death match. There will be no pinfalls, no submissions. The only way to bury your opponent alive, to entomb them in the earth, and offer their souls to the gods. You'll be my final sacrifice, Monty, on my journey to redemption. You'll be the one that purifies my soul and allows me to rise anew." Of course, Monty comes out, and he says, "Mesias, you talk a big bang about being reborn, about cleansing your soul, but I'll see the same monster, the same animal I faced before. You think you can bury me alive? You think you can take my soul? You think you can sacrifice me? Boy, you gotta be out of your goddamn mind. At Wrestle War, we went to war, and we may have walked away, but I was the one who left you laying at that safe with the pounce. Slamboree, you better leave. I'm going to do it again. You think you can sacrifice me? You think you bury the alpha male? Nah, I ain't going down like that." Because you can talk about all you want about what you did in Puerto Rico and all that, but I'll play your game. But you better be ready for the fight of your life, because I'm through with you. The only thing gods will be receiving is your broken body. I'm going to show everybody at Slamboree why I'm the baddest man on the planet. I'm going to get to your rituals, your gods, and your darkness. I'm going to shove them down your throat. You want to bury me alive? You have to kill me first. Trust me, that ain't happening, because I am the alpha male of the Serengeti. Because when said and done, dust settles, there'll be one man left standing on this earth, and that man is the alpha male. Pounce. Period. 87, good stuff, building up the match for the pay-per-view. Look, this is 2006. They would not care about how PC are being about the actual rituals. It is what it is. Then we have a backstage segment involving the social scene, all that, Alyssa Alexander and Gail Kim. And, Alyssa has the belt around her waist, and she says, "We got a big match ahead of us tonight. We're up against European Disunion and Alli Danger. This is just a match about showing everybody why we're still the top women in WCW." And he's like, "Oh, you got that right, Jim. Let's not forget. Let's have a little fun, too. I know things didn't go quite the way we wanted a couple weeks ago, but still, victory party? Maybe get you to dress again, Alyssa?" Yeah, and he's like, "Come on, Alyssa, you're also we need to loosen up just a little bit. Party sounds like a perfect way to celebrate everyone tonight." And this is like, "I'll think about it, guys, but right now we got to focus on taking down Disunion and Danger." Then Gail Kim, is a little bit apart from the group, and she steps in front of him and says, "Look, you want to have fun tonight? That's all fine. But it's about more than a match. It's about making a statement and giving a little preview of what's going to happen at the pay-per-view. Alli Danger thinks she can walk all over me and walk over this division, that she can just respect everything I built in this division. I'm not going to let that happen. I was 3-time women's champion for a reason. I know what it takes to be at the top. I'm going to Alli Danger, or you'll also take that away from me." And Gail steps in and says, "Look, I respect everything you've done in this division. Your legend tonight is proving we deserve to be here, why I'm worthy to hold this title, and Sunday in Slamboree, I'm going to show everybody why I'm all that and the champ." And Gail then taps the bell and says, "Good luck with that, Alyssa. I've been in the game a long time and know what it takes to stay on top. But tonight, let's focus on the task on hand." And Nikki sort of steps in and says, "Come on, let's put this all aside and get ready for tonight. We need to show European Disunion and Danger that we're not being messed with, and show them we can play hard and party hard." So decent little stuff. 67. Of course, these girls are not that over quite yet, but we're getting there. Then we have that 8-woman tag. It's a back and forth match. I messed up my booking. I got it backwards. Oh well. I mean, this actually works well. Because it builds up a little bit in the future. So, decent little match. All 8 women get their spots in, get little previews. Gail Kim chases around chases around Alli Danger. Mulham throws some people around. Colt and Alexander trade shots. But eventually, after about 10 minutes, things break down. Gail Kim actually goes for the defeat on Alli Danger, but Alexander basically pushes on Danger, but Danger pushes Alexander the way. Alexander takes the brunt of the match. Gail Kim tosses aside. Danger hits her with a quick finisher and gets pinfall victory over the women's champion here at Slamboree, here on the Revolution. This gets a 78. Danger gets a 58. Mayhem gets a 53. Colt gets an 85. Music gets a 62. Vidal gets a 68. Radcliffe gets a 67. Alexander gets a 59. And Kim gets an 82. And post-match, this should have been the babyfaces winning, but yeah, just a stare down. Gets a 62. And then we're backstage with the heels of Van Dam, of course, with his advocate Paul Heyman, Kidman, and Helms. And, Kurt Heyman's like, ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing greatness in its purest form. You will see 3 former world champions, 3 men who will be known as legends of the industry, teams show the world why they're the very best. Rob Van Dam, Billy Kidman, Shane Helms. These names are synonymous with excellence, with dominance, and being simply legendary. And Van Dam's like, Paul, it's funny. People always underestimate me. They think just because I'm chill and not yelling and screaming and laid back that I don't care. But I didn't realize if I've been the best what I do for a long, long time, I don't need to yell and scream to show why I'm the best in the world. And look, AJ, you're the world champion for a reason, because you're that good. But I'm that much better. I'm Mr. Wednesday Night. I'm Mr. Pay-Per-View. I was the #1 free agent in the game, and I'm at the top of my game since I walked into WCW. And AJ, Eddy, I made a statement breaking up your match, and at Slamboree, you're not going to do anything about it as I walk out as a WCW World Champion. Then Kidman steps in for his, let's forget who you're standing to, Rob. I'm 4-time tag team champion, multiple-time cruiserweight champion, U.S. champion, and a former world champion. The front office does not want men like me and Helms at the top. We teamed up and show everybody why we're the most dangerous men in this business, and we're going to walk out of Aerial Assault as the tag team champions one way or the other. And I was like, they call me the greatest U.S. champion for a reason. I've held every title worth holding in this company. You name it, I've done it. And now we're here to take with ours and remind everybody why we are indeed legendary. Tonight, it's going to be a reminder, everyone watching. Heyman says to every wrestler in the locker room that you're looking at the pinnacle of this business. RVD, Billy Kidman, Shane Helms. They've been to the top of the mountain and they're coming down any time soon. Then Van Dam steps in and says, AJ, Eddy, I hope you're watching. Tonight's just a preview she says, Eddy, wherever you are, buddy, hope you're watching. This is just a preview what's going to happen at Slamboree. Don't mind the champ. Remember who the whole effing show is. So there we go. Good stuff. 91, building up to the match later tonight. And then we have that match, which gets an oof. Why did it get an 80? Let's see here. Okay, bad roll and announcing color commentary, inconsistency, Styles gimmick. Okay, let me just see here. 80, 15, 27, 38, 42, 54, 42, divided by 6. So this should have been A. So, So the announcing and the color commentary was unfortunately bad. Not the end of the world. But, I mean, this is sort of the match you expect. 5 world champions, one of the highest rising stars in the game. Lots, suplexes by Shelton, Booker doing his brawling, AJ flying around, RVD flying around, Kidman doing his cocky heel stick, super kicks from Helms, Sydal teams Kidman and Helms on the tag champs, AJ and Helms having a little face-off, same with Kidman, but eventually things break down, the tag teams are on the outside fighting, Heyman is able to distract AJ just long enough for RVD to get the Van Daminator, go up top, 5-star frog splash, 1, 2, 3, Rob Van Dam has pinned the world champion just a few days before Slamboree. This gets an 80, like I said. AJ gets a 92. Shelton gets an 84. Brooke gets a 68. Helms gets a 91. Kevin gets a 92. RVD gets a 95. And post-match, RVD grabs the title belt, holds it up, and stands on top of Styles with him beside him as the announcers put over the big matches for the pay-per-view. Overall, the show gets us an 85. Good stuff. So yeah, solid show. Not our best show there. Unfortunately, the 6-man, that 6-man should have like an 87, 88, like I said. So probably should have got us like an 87, 88 overall, but hey, that happens. What can you do? Yeah, we'll go over the whole lineup for the pay-per-view here in just a moment. Let's see here. As this loads up, then we'll go over the other stuff. Let's see here. Make sure there's no mail or anything. Okay, let's see here. Oops, that's the wrong thing. I mean, great. Oh no. Oh. Yay, Scott, you're coming back. All right. Brain fart. Right, okay. So look at what we've done to the women's division between us and WWE. There's like no women's indie scene at this point. Anyway, so for the pay-per-view, it's Slamboree. It's up next. It's a big old show, 14 matches, which means some shows will have to lose some time or I'll add some time to the show. But we got AJ Styles versus Eddie Guerrero versus Rob Van Dam in three-way dance for the WWE World Championship. Remember, that means it's elimination rules, not triple threat rules. We've got aerial assault. Booker and Shelton defending the titles against Ray Leppan Jr. and Matt Sydal. Kidman and Helms, and KO of Cass and Yang for the tag team titles. We have Alyssa Alexander defending against Nikita Colt for the women's world title. Ray Leppan versus Lance Storm for the US title. Maverick Chance versus Cassidy O'Reilly for the cruiserweight title. Social Scene versus European Disunion of Basic and Molly Mayhem for the women's world tag team titles. Goldberg versus Alex Wright in the blow after their feud. Angle versus O'Hare after O'Hare's, turning on him. London Evans versus the Thrillers of Palumbo and Jindrak. A big six-man war of Brother Ray the Truth and Ken Anderson versus The Nest. Judas Mesias versus Monty Brown in a Sante Deathmatch. Gail Kim versus Alli Danger, Falls Count Anywhere. And America's Unwanted versus the Southern Syndicate. If we look at our storylines, Against the Darkness is at a 79. Captivating Nitro is at a 68. Commonwealth Collides at a 75. Misty and Mavericks at a 63. Never Noble, which is basically our feud for the tag titles, at a 74. Brother Ray 77. Wright and Goldberg's at a 82. Best in the World's at a 77, mainly I think is that ending, unfortunate. Challenges Everywhere is at 76. Expanding Horizons at a 77. Legendary's at an 84. No Mentor Teaser is at a 78. Thrill Angles at an 89. Walking into War is at an 86. And this is at an 82. Good stuff. And yeah, so as look around the rest of the world, hold on. Yeah, there we go. So WWE had SmackDown, and it involved Val Venus winning a four-way over Dinsmore, Jannetty, and Dudley. Farouk defeating Chemo. Ivory and Shiniko defeated Taylor Matheny and Langel Obscura in a 72. Don DeBoy defeating Mafia Mac. Justice, Brock Lesnar, and Christian defeating the Gladiator and Simone Gangster Party in a 90. Regal and Gunn defeating Scott Steiner and Rikishi. And 100, The Undertaker winning over Kane and Benoit. Sure. Also, Impact had a big pay-per-view. Where are they? I'm being blind. All right, they're over. Right. Okay, so Impact had their No Surrender show, 7,500 people. On the pre-show, we had Giant Singh defeating Alexander Ashkin, the Regen. Baron Albrecht defeating Quiet Storm. Frankie Zaren defeating Derek Sparrow, the Regen. Amazing Red defeat Jay Lethal. We had Levesque and Hogan getting into a heated match, which I think sets up the four-way I'll go over in a minute. Sidney Rogers defeating Trinity McRae by DQ in a 34. Sophia Villa-Quiz and Candice Michelle defeating Trinity and CJ Lane. This is that Trinity, not the other Trinity. We had Claudia Desol winning a triple threat match to retain the Divas title over Serena Deeb and Fabi Apache. We had the Hulkamaniacs of Shiver and Jesus Cecil Jr. defeating Alcandor and Samson and Roadkill and Sick Boy in 44. Yeah. We had the Dancing Fools defeating Apollo and Nowinski for the Impact World Tag Titles. Let's assume there were some shenanigans involved in there. Bagwell, Saturn, and Cosina defeated Shelley and the Menage's Monsters of Heinrich and Harrison. So maybe Shelley's a part of that. We'll have to see. Militech defeated Jason Vex to retain the X title after being handed it last month by Levesque. Or no, yeah. And then our main event had Hogan and Levesque, but also involved Anna Ortiz and Hellraiser. So we're going to say both men added a man of their choosing. Hogan added Ortiz. Levesque added Hellraiser, and they didn't actually meet that well in the ring. And yeah, solid show for them, actually. 58, not bad. 30,000, viewers. So they're not doing too bad. If we look around the rest of the wrestling world, for our thing, we had Jones, Stallings, and Brent Major defeat Lance Waite, Morgan, and Durante. Stallings is doing pretty decent. Todd Section defeated TJ Perkins and Rick Michaels. Hot Stuff Fernandez and Lazarus defeated Nick Werner and John Phoenix. Jason Cross defeated Austin Creed. And then the Weekly House Show, Michaels and Lloyd defeated Major and Danielson. Stallings, Onyx Inferno defeated Perkins, Morgan, and Gerard Day. Let's see here. Mighty and O'Neil are your NWA World Tag Team Champions for some reason. Interesting. And yeah, that's about it for them. For American Wrestling Queens, we had a weekly show. Eagles, Josie, and Blanchard, who is not Tessa Blanchard, but a regen, defeated Carla Chambers, Elaine, and Trinisha. We had Michelle and Madison Scudder defeat Tracy Taylor and Emi Sakura. And in the main event, we had Lisa Saka defeat Portia Perez, retain the AKW title. But these out there are getting 88s, but like the reality is like I don't have anything really for her to do. Like she's really good, but her like her others, I mean, I could do something for her, but also like she's already kind of old, and she's doing pretty well here. I'm just pretending being a trainer. It is what it is. Let's see here. HWA. Really not much of note. OVW, same thing. Their weekly loops, Riptide's main eventing stuff. Joey Ryan, John Casey. Eric Engels is still on the pre-show. So John Moxley. Yeah. Then if we look around the wrestling world, Empro had a big show, made event by Team Blood of defeating Nishida and Collier in a 78. Team Blood is Akata and Suzuki Mizuki. Jinsei Sasaki and Suzuki defeated Inoue and Tiger Mask 4 in a 76. And Arai defeated Super Crazy in a 70. And yes, also on the show, involving those 6 matches, which were pretty much all high flying, was Brutus Beefcake versus BJ James. Sure. Let's see here. Chick Fight had their 9th Chi show. Again, we sort of killed the women's scene. Like, yeah, we got these, I mean, Lexi Fry and Abby Apache defeating, I mean, at least Yoshida's here doing a random spot, but still not a whole ton of there going on. Guy had a big show. Inoue versus Kairo got a 67. It was what it was. Iron had a show. Kazarian versus Balor was the main event. Kazarian's interesting as a possible setting. I'm trying not to push people from Impact yet. New Japan had a big show. We had Magnum Topio versus Macho Pump in a match that I'm sure was actually pretty entertaining. Hero, Nigel, Lenny Lane defeated the Funkster and the Pair of Aces. Yeah, very weird. These three people are like consistent New Japan guys in 2006. Super J, Bam Bigelow, and Brian Adams defeat Bobby Roode, Leatherface, and Nakano, who I think is, Tetsuya Nakano. So 6 very different people. Agawa defeated Bearden, Jin Suki, and Brian Clark. Brother Yashi and Jun Akawana. Adawachi defeated Inoue and Kakara to retain the Junior Heavyweight Tag titles. Liger defeated Matsushi and Super Demikin in 78. Sakuraba defeated Cushion in an 80. Bat defeated New Japan Black of Chono and Nash. Nagata defeated Sasaki for the IWGP title in an 80. And Tenjoki defeated Tanashi and Hasi to retain the tag titles in a 94. Let's see here. I think that's the last big show. Yep, that's it. So, next up, again, will be Slamboree. Like I said at the top of the show, vote for when you want me to convert this TW9. There might be a little bit of a delay as far as the actual shows go, because they're just converting in, because I'm a weirdo making sure everything's right. But that for now, if you're on the show, give it a comment. Comment below while you're liking, not liking, subscribe to the channel for plenty of TW 2020, now TW9 content. But that's all for now. Talk later, and adios. Have a good one.